I'm going to start recording.
Oh, I see people. Some people are really savvy with their backgrounds. Travel the world virtually because you can't do it physically. Okay, I see more people coming in. Okay, so as we wait for people to come in, I would like to welcome you all to another virtual presentation brought to you by the Boca Chamber. We are so excited to have our speaker here today. My name is Chastity Navarro. I am the events manager here at the Boca Chamber, and today we're going to have a discussion on finding opportunities in crisis to weather disruption and relaunch stronger, because that's what we want. We want to see how we're going to be stronger when we get through this whole craziness. But before we get to our awesome speaker, I'm going to turn it over to Sophia, who's going to do a quick little Zoom tutorial on how to chat and how to react and how to raise your hand. Sophia?
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to another Chamber virtual experience. Just a couple things I wanted to mention. This entire presentation will be recorded, so everyone will receive an email with the recorded presentation on our YouTube playlist. And then there will also be an attachment with these PowerPoint slides as well. For this particular event, we're going to wait until the very end to ask all of our questions. So when you do have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat box or virtually raise your hand. You can do so by going to the bottom of your screen. There should be a chat icon. You can click that and click raise your hand, or just type your message to me if you want to be more anonymous, or to everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sophia. So we're going to do a quick little switch of sharing screens, and I will introduce our speaker. It has been an incredibly tumultuous several weeks for all types of businesses and nonprofits and those they serve, each thrown off its axis, leaving doubt, concern, and panic. But as Bonnie K, founder, president, and chief strategist of the award-winning K Communications PR and marketing firm, will share today, great opportunities are born from crisis for those who identify and harness them. While she and KCOM PR are well known for leading strategic branding initiatives, media and influencer communications, community relations, and alliance building, it is the behind-the-scenes strategy and creative thought leadership guidance that is at the core of all they do. By candidly telling clients what they need to hear, not just what they want to hear, their organizations are well positioned to grow and dominate through ups and downs and in-betweens. This includes brand launches, refreshments, revitalizations, and rescues. As a seasoned brand strategist for more than 40 years, I'm sorry, I just lost myself. Bonnie has guided entertainment and sports event leaders, companies in varieties of industries, and nonprofit navigate introductions of non-like-it industries first, and as well as the difficult changes and pivots in their marketplace. These include reputation repair, 9/11, the real estate bubble crisis that we all remember, high-profile federal and company litigation, hostile takeovers, new ownership management transitions, staff protests, government approvals, prep and recovery from hurricanes, and even snowstorms. Pandemic, she has been busy helping small and mid-sized organizations struggling with next steps. This means serving a sounding board and providing think tank counsel and strategies for market-relevant pivoting in services, products, relationship building for now and long-term to the triage communication services they need to propel them to the other side of this uncharted disruption. She has done this for businesses and nonprofits of all sizes. These include Home Box Office, Boca Raton Resort Club, City of Boca Raton, Waterstone Resort and Marina, Broken Sound, Town Center at Boca Raton, True Foods Kitchen, California Pizza Kitchen, Royal Palm Place, El Ad Nacional Properties, Flora Furnishings, Capital Lighting, Cherubunny Boca Raton Bowl, Habitat for Humanity South Palm Beach County, Tri-County Animal Rescue, also for large hospital companies as Promise Healthcare, several physician groups, and attorney firms. Bonnie served on the board of the Boca Chamber for 6 years. She was an inaugural instructor of the marketing phase of YAY, our Young Entrepreneurs Academy, for 3 years and currently serves on our tourism committee. So with that amazing bio, I turn it over to our speaker. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Just full disclosure, if you hear barking, we're doing the best we can, but we've got 2 rescues. That's the heart of what we do, and they get a little vocal. So I'm just giving you that disclaimer when we start. How is everybody this morning? I hope great, and looking forward to learning new things. I'm going to share my screen with all of you. So here we go. But I'm going to go backwards because I guess I left it in the middle. There we go. Today, every business, every family member, every friend is living in a world off its access. And, it's a very daunting time. We all know that. What we want to do today is share that finding opportunities is a way to work through a disruption in business and relaunch stronger. I noticed on the list that we have many different industries, so I'm trying to be a generalist, and then when you have questions at the end, we can address your specific questions. But first, before we do anything, we have to really understand what a crisis is. It's a crucial or decisive point or situation, especially in a difficult or unstable situation involving an impending change. There are many definitions of crisis. We've gone through a lot of them, but we also have to remember that they're emotionally stressful or it can be a traumatic change in a person's life. This pandemic goes on both business, personal, community. It hits so many levels versus just that a business lost its funding. This is the world is, again, off its axis. So what are crises? The types, there are family disruptions like a divorce, a family disturbance, natural disasters. Gosh knows we've really weathered our own hurricanes here. Suicide is another one, and that is a big issue during this pandemic. We may not hear about it because we're hearing about losses in body counts, et cetera, but we're not hearing that the mental health becomes a crisis within itself. Economic changes, community resources, and life events, as in death, as in illness, et cetera. So through this pandemic, our audiences, our clients, our business partners are all going through a number of these things all at once. So what that means is we are uncomfortable. And when I say we, again, I'm going to make this very clear because it'll become even clearer later. Your customers, your employees, you, the bankers you use, the accountants, everyone is experiencing an uncomfortable feeling. And so that uncomfortable feeling is often similar to stages in grief. And I want you to understand them because as you're planning for your company's future, as you're planning for your relaunch, you're going to go through these stages of grief. And some are going to repeat themselves. It's not linear. But it's important to know because it will help you make decisions. So the first is denial. This virus doesn't affect us. Then it's anger. You're making me stay at home. I can't go to my gala events that I want to go to. I can't see, people at work. I'm angry. And then you close the beaches, etc. Then you start bargaining. Okay, if I social distance for 2 weeks, maybe everything will get better. And then you go for sadness and says, I'm not really sure when this is going to end. And then you might have hope in there and then sadness again when you think that funding is coming through the federal government. You get excited and then you're sad because you didn't make the cut. Acceptance is where the power is. That's when we say this is happening. We have to figure out how to proceed. I'll wash my hands. I'll keep a safe distance. I'll learn how to work virtually. But the sixth stage of grief is finding meaning. What did I learn and how will I change my perspective, my habits? And those are important because while you're going through this, So is your audience. So are your target markets. So as we go through this, the way you're going to find opportunities is if you are good to yourself. It's kind of like when you're on an airplane and the flight attendant tells you, put on the oxygen mask and then help your children, or help those you're with or your loved ones. This is the same thing. So many people are just tired. They want to hide away. They're frustrated, and they see it overwhelmingly hard for them. So we want you to know that if you're feeling this way or feeling away in a week, don't worry, because every caterpillar has to rest before they become a butterfly and find their wings. So again, be good to yourself. So it's time to reset your mindset on business. It's not just the emotional, but you have to know that. And you'll learn a little later why that's so important, why I'm spending so much time on that. Right now, you want to plan, not panic, to rebound stronger. And that has to do with your mindset. So if you really look at things, management, the definition of management is doing things right. And you have managers, you might be a leader, you might be a manager, but leadership is doing the right things. And there's a big difference in that. And right now, people are seeking leadership. They're seeking guidance. I find that with my clients all the time. They're busy, working with their widgets, or they're doing certain services, and even leaders are looking for leaders to help guide them. So what you want to remember when you're in this mindset, when you're rethinking things, it's not just the glass is half full, half empty, but a pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. Remember that. So you want to be that optimist, because people are going to be looking to you to lead or guide them. So I picked out a few quotes you might even want to print them out and put them on your refrigerator at home. You might want to look at them first thing in the morning, because it'll help you. And these are things you can actually share with your employees, anyone that's looking to you for guidance, your family members, your son or daughter's teacher. We can't rewrite your past, but you can grab a clean sheet of paper and write your future. And at every given moment, you always, always have the power to say, this is not how the story is going to end. And those who say they can and those who say they can't are both right. And so if you just keep this in your mindset, it will help you make your business decisions. And we all know about J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter series. She was homeless when she started writing, and somebody discovered it. And so she was really at a rock bottom when she totally turned her life around. And in this environment, we're all seeking information. I think more people are reading. I think, in the old days, it was sound bites and sight bites, that people were just quick. Now people are delving in to learn more. They're taking webinars. They're reading articles, because you know what? They have the time. So that really is an opportunity in the middle of this unprecedented time. So nothing in life is to be feared. It's only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more, so that we fear less. All right. So it's important. People are hungry for information. So you want to first start off by saying, is it time? Looking at your business candidly, is it time to reframe what you're doing and what you're saying? Maybe you just need a little refreshment. Maybe you take your business services and you have to pivot. You redirect how you're using your resources, how you're using your assets. And we'll give you examples of that in a little bit. Maybe you just need to reimagine for the long term. Short term, you might be okay. But long term, now's the time when you have the time. Start reimagining what your business will look like in 5 years, 10 years. I can't tell you how many people don't have business plans. But don't worry about it, because you know what? This opportunity in a crisis is helping you get there. Very, very important to think it out. And you may really have to reinvent yourself. Look at Ford. They are now not selling cars, but they retooled to make respirators. The different businesses, you've got beer distillers that are making hand sanitizer. So you might have to reinvent it, sometimes for the short term, sometimes for the long term. And then repair is very important. We'll go over some what that means, because when you make a decision, it may not always be the right decision. And so you have to know how to fix that, okay? Another question, is it time to reach out? Is it time to reach out to your clients? Is it time to reach out to past clients? Is it time to reach out to media? Right now, the world's changing every day and every hour. So that changes a lot. Is it time to begin new relationships? You know, you're members of the chamber. Are you thinking about now, maybe you weren't in a leads group before, maybe you want to sit in on the economic development committee today, or the tourism. Is it time? Add, you may want to, it's time to look and see if you want to add or eliminate. Whoops, I told you that we're going. Hold on one second. Okay, so if it might be time to add or eliminate for now or for the long term. Maybe you want to cut back spending right now and then wait until the world starts revolving again. Or is it time to invest? And then if you are going to cut back or invest, in what areas? Is it time to promote and advertise? We'll talk about that. But we can tell you right now, I can't answer all of your individual situations, but I can tell you it's time to be seriously strategic. As I was saying before, take stock of your finances. You know, talk to your landlord, talk to different service providers that you have, that whether it's your tech company, et cetera, to find out where you can reserve capital right now. The other thing is, look at your assets. That could be your employees. For instance, restaurants now are, instead of even using outside delivery companies, they want to keep their people employed. So that is an asset for them. If they've got dedicated employees, just like Oceans 234, their staff is delivering groceries and food. So look at your assets. They might not be as obvious as you think it is, bricks and mortar. You might have relationships you might want to combine with and align with on a special project for this. You might be looking at your delivery model, and I don't mean like delivery services, but you know, for us, we've always been a large retainer firm where you were you retained us for a year. Before this happened, we had already started pivoting to where people could use us as needed basis, which is perfect for now, the time that we're in right now. And so a lot of our services, we've been in business for 23 years. I've had 40 years in the PR and writing and content area. We can provide that now as an as-needed basis. HR structure and how it works. Now's the time to go look at that and to see where people are, where their strengths are. You know, they say cream rises to the top. Be looking for that cream, and maybe you just need to change your structure a little bit. You know, take stock in your current clients. Are any of them willing to be a recommender for you? Start building that up. And then brand relevance. There are some companies that have been making the same product for 20 years. Now is the time to look at how to either take that product or improve that product, or maybe put it aside for something that somebody needs now. So the other thing we recommend, you go to your lawyer, you go to your accountant, especially when you're trying to do all the financial papers, right? It's time to really consider your communications person, whether it's in-house or it's an outside service, as a trusted advisor. They should be part of every discussion. They will see it from an outside point of view more often than you will about what your production line makes. They need to be in all those discussions, because when you're talking about your SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weakness, opportunities, and threats, they might find opportunities if they're in discussion with you. They might help you pivot or tilt an idea. Not every communications person has to have the idea, but they have to be able to execute it, and they will know what's workable and not. In today's world with media, I've never bothered media with things that I didn't think were newsworthy or news generating. I never went to them with something that wasn't of value to them. And they appreciate it. Because when I do go, they listen. So your communications advisor is really, really important. You might think you have the best idea in the world. I had a client that was selling the most expensive hamburger, and it was $100 hamburger at the time. And I said, and he wanted it to, I said, well, $100 hamburger may not be the most expensive. And then I researched it, and there was a $2,500 hamburger, but it was in Las Vegas, and it had, gold truffles on top of it. So all we had to do was pivot and manage that. That $100 hamburger also became the most charitable burger. And before the internet was really big, we got $1.7 million of coverage in one day. And that was just broadcast alone. So just listen to your advisors. Short-term and long-term planning has to happen now. And right now, the most important thing you can do is build brand loyalty, because some of you are not even open for business. Your stores aren't open. Build that loyalty. And I'll show you some examples soon. You want to be relevant, as I mentioned before. How can I help now? I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten from department stores about sales. Right now, I'm looking to conserve all my capital. I want to know what they're doing for me now, or how they're helping the community. And I'll show you an example of that. Be transparent. You don't have to walk around like everything is peachy keen, because even this pandemic doesn't know demographic. It's not about one different economic level. It's not about one spiritual level. It hits everybody. So everybody's going through it. And I think if you were happy every day, you wouldn't be human. You'd be a game show host. So the reality is, people have to know that you're hurting too. And that's how we come up with good solutions. Show gratitude. If your employees have been out, I really hope that once a week you've been reaching out to them, seeing how they're doing. Your clients, check in on them. Once you've had that oxygen mask on you, reach out to people. And also your partners. I've reached out to my designers. I've reached out to my IT people. I send them texts. I send them funny things. But I let them know I'm thinking about them. And for gosh sakes, be really sensitive. And I'll show you some examples how that doesn't work. So now is the time to realize that the future ain't what it used to be. And in fact, I've seen so many people writing that they don't want it to be back to the same way. They're thrilled that people are becoming kinder, that we're respecting the janitors, that we're looking at the truckers, we're looking at the farmers. And so again, that's where opportunity and good things come from dark. But you also have to know that old ways will not open new doors. So don't think you're gonna turn on the lights to your business when we're all back working, and that old ways will will still work. And Warren Buffett, I've always followed this. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. Again, you might be in a family business that's been passed down through generations, but look at the farmers. Look how they're struggling. So just be aware that, a new kid on the block can come by and they will be smart about how they're communicating and reaching your audience. So just keep that in mind. So therefore, history will show that it is how brands act, plan, and communicate through this unprecedented time that will determine which rebound and dominate. I'm showing you, I'm not sure how many, it's not an audience where everybody answers, but we all were taught Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that is where your audience is. That's where your partners are. And so you have to look at their mindset, because reality is your success is going to be all about them. And it's important to remember we are in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. So right now, the most important thing for people are their physiological needs: air, water, food, shelter, right? Somebody may be annoyed that, they can't go and go out and go to happy hours, or can't do this or that. That's up where it's self-acquisition at the top of that pyramid, self-actualization and esteem. People are worried about air, food, and sleep and shelter. They're worried about personal safety needs. So just remember that some might have gotten stimulus checks, some may not have. Some may not know, they might have a family of 4 and they didn't file taxes last year. And so therefore they're having trouble getting that government funding. So just remember that. It's really, really important that we're not all in the same boat. And when we cross over or transition, we're going to see that a lot of brands are going to start looking very different. Not all, but some will. Some will, again, add new services, eliminate others. Some will be forced to totally reinvent themselves. Some will start to promote or sell through new channels. And I think now that everybody's getting used to Zoom, even the seniors, over Easter and Passover, people have mastered that. And they've really embraced the technology. So I think we're going to see use of new channels to some businesses. So it's really important, as I go through some examples, brand resilience and loyalty won't be achieved by what a brand says, but rather how it acts. Just like, your children will learn from seeing you do something, not by what you say. So let me tell you what the acts are. It's integrity, authenticity, transparency, relevance, and most of all, it's a sense of humanity right now, as so many are in a dark time. Your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. So when I see a commercial from Allstate, and my heart warms because they are actually giving back premiums, because right now there aren't going to be as many accidents. When they say to me, in good hands, that means a whole lot more now. So let me give you some examples. When you're building brand trust, what the media says about you, what you talk about with your friends, that's all important. So I'm not sure how many people know, but Ruth Chris received more than $20 million in PPP. When so many businesses, small businesses, were edged out because there was no more money left. Ruth Chris is a public company. They have other means of getting their investments versus the pizzeria that really could have used it for its 5 employees, or for the beach bar that they have at 5 different locations and the guy had to let 100 people go. What happened was the media blasted that brand. And that's going to be a hard thing for them to recover. On the other hand, Shake Shack applied for it too, just like every business is going to apply for whatever, because they don't know what they're going to be able to get. They decided, when they saw that others needed it more now, they went ahead and returned the money. And the chain instead raised money in the stock market. So to me, when I have that burger at Shake Shack, I'm going to thank them. So again, building trust. Grubhub, while they have decided not to charge, they were giving $10 off on every order, which sounded great for the consumer. However, on the back end, the restaurants had to pay them a commission based on the full price. And then some had to actually sign up for a year's contract with them in order for them to be on Grubhub. The media picked that up. Wells Fargo stopped taking applications for the PPP, and they went to their top tier of clients. The media picked that up. So remember, it's what someone says about a brand when you're not in the room. Northwestern, Florida Blue, and Allstate, I want to give a big cheer to. Northwest Mutual, we have life insurance, and it's costly every month, and it's whole life. And that was one of my first calls to see how I can, I don't want to lose everything I put in for years, right? So my rep, who's terrific, said, you know what, give us a week or 2. This is all still new. Thank you for calling me and letting me know. Turns out 2 weeks later, he couldn't keep his excitement when he said that they are now delaying, they're going to give a pause on premiums for 2 months. Now, my whole life won't gather interest, but I am now saving thousands of dollars when I need that thousands of dollars now. Florida Blue is giving payment relief at no penalty. And I have to tell you, Saturday night, I got a call from someone from Florida Blue who wanted to enroll me into a free service that was about how to take care of nutrition. And now I'm signed up. But it was a friendly voice that called me. And again, I told you about the payback from Allstate. So here's another one. I buy Eileen Fisher clothes all the time and I absolutely love it. But I started to get a little annoyed that they kept sending me emails, and I understand they're in business and they want to say, you know, buy me, buy me. But it wasn't until I got an email from them that said they're now taking their fabrics and turning them into masks. Now I feel a lot better when I buy from them. They're also started Staying in Touch series, which I'm showing you here about cultivating gratitude. The Eileen Fisher Foundation is hosting this series. So while I may not have time to do it, said a lot to me that they were listening with sensitivity to their audience. So it's also a time to build brand affinity, that people like you, right? So right now there's so much disappointment. I just thought this was great to share about Busch Beer. They're giving a year full of free beer to couples whose weddings were postponed. And it's funny, before I was even doing this presentation, I had actually sent it to a few people whose weddings I was invited to that were canceled or were actually postponed. And look at the details of this. They were giving 250 winners a $300 debit card. Think about that. You do the math and then look at the value of their idea, right? Because what everybody has to do to enter is you go on their Facebook page and say how you're going to use it to celebrate. So, and remember too, all those weddings are where Busch made money on beer, selling beer, right? All these places are closed. They already had their advertising allotment for that month and they pivoted. They also helped rescue animals because they knew that this was going to hit. So they actually supported a foster dog program, which was great. Now, I don't know if you've seen the news, but a lot of the shelters have been empty during this pandemic, whether it's a foster or whether it's adoption. So that's really big. But I think the most fascinating thing that we can all take away with is that they redirected their media assets. So they said, okay, I allotted $5 million to go to sports and entertainment investments. Well, they could have maybe pulled it back, but instead they donated it to American Red Cross, and they're identifying arenas and stadiums that can be used for, temporary blood centers. But here's the kicker. They donated all their airtime for public service announcements for the Red Cross. Again, when I said take stock of your assets, so is your advertising budget. It's also a time to build brand leadership. And when you do that, it has to be authentic. So here's a case where Broken Sound Club is a private club. But how do they share? How do they help the community around them? So what they did was they actually lit the sky up for those, for our heroes and helpers. And they did this for 3 weeks. You can see it's in the article. But then on Passover, so many services were canceled. And they had already had a service pre-recorded. Instead of keeping it on the private side of the website, they put it on the front side. So therefore, people who were used to 20 people at a Seder or 50 people at a Seder, they're now sitting with 2. And a lot of people used it to Zoom. The website hits were, the percentage increase was phenomenal. And so it's just by using that creativity, but being authentic, it's really helping the outside. They could have just done it for themselves. So here's another one, building brand affinity. If you can help lessen fears, you're really helping, and people remember that. So there was Channel 12 did an article, which I think can help restaurants. I think people are still fearful that you can get the virus through food or packaging. So they shared this article from Washington, D.C. And I had a client I was on the phone with yesterday who was just so thrilled. I said, just put this on your Facebook, put it out, and thank, CBS for reporting this. And then by doing that, you're tagging CBS. So now they're in that conversation. Just remember, the media is working really, really hard in this time also. They're people too, and they're hard workers, and they really would appreciate a thank you too. So we always make it a practice when something comes out on our Facebook or on our client's Facebook, we thank the media source. So now let's talk about pivots. It's a fundamental change to a business when your product isn't meeting the needs. Right now, and your intended market. So let's show you some pivots that happened before this pandemic. So I don't know if many of you know, but Starbucks originally started selling espresso machines. That's where they started. Twitter was a platform for finding podcasts because nobody knew how to find those. You couldn't advertise it. And now look what an impact it's made on our daily lives because they pivoted. Nintendo actually made a variety of products before the games. They even manufactured vacuum cleaners. So I just want you to know that you got to look at the assets and see where your company's going. So here's another one. So in the COVID environment, HelloFresh was always very popular, but now they want everyone to know that they're even more sustainable in their products by, cutting out 100% of their carbon emissions. A lot of millennials like this. A lot of people like this instead of throwing out plastic and some of those other things. So people may they're going to win with this one because they were going to do it anyway, but now they're using local farmers. So now we feel like we're helping the people down the street at the farms. FAU, it's Arts and Letters College and College of Engineering, made face masks that was much needed at Boca Raton Regional Hospital. And then you've seen them, the news briefs about all the farms that the cattle, they were actually pouring out all the milk that they couldn't sell because if restaurants aren't open and people weren't buying, they couldn't let that stay because it would not be a healthy item. There's so much shelf life for that. But so the local farms are also going where they were wholesale. Now that so many restaurants are not opening or at their capacity, they can't let the fruits and vegetables die. So they've turned it to the public. And this is my favorite. This brings so much joy. These signs are like yard cards. And so this is when a printing shop can change what they're doing. Maybe they're not printing brochures right now. Maybe they're not printing new menus now. But they've changed it to where it's become joyful. And it's been all over the news. So just want to share that. So remaining relevant. Here's what you need to really think about. What are your audiences looking for? What are your audiences looking for? Check that out first. Read, go in Facebook, see what audiences are looking for now. What services and products are obsolete? Is there a new market audience for your products and services? Some are hiding in sight. We love finding that for clients. When clients are kind of going along, not in a crisis situation, but they're doing a great job. And we said, have you thought about reaching this audience? It's so exciting because it opens another marketplace. So be aware of that. There's some that are hiding in plain sight that may want your products and services, and you just didn't even think about it. And look at niche audiences and what's trending with them. So in your plans, focus on what's essential right now as you plan for reentry. So what I want to let everybody know, content is more important than what channels you pick. I'm going to repeat that because it's really important. Content is more important than what channels you pick. And here are some tips. Stay within your authority area. I'm not going to talk about whether the COVID virus is a hoax, whether the healthcare leaders are saying the right thing, whether our governor is saying the right thing. I'm going to stay within my authority area. Because otherwise you're not authentic and your credibility will go down the tubes. Share good news first. Whatever you're doing, share it first. What are you doing to care for your constituents and employees? And, what advice can you give? Again, be sensitive, appreciative, and appropriate. I've been reading through so many articles just to validate things on stats, but continuing to create and share your content for search, social media, emails during this crisis is a way to show your customers you're still here. There is a demand for relevant, useful, non-COVID content. It remains strong, but it has to be of value. So when you're seeing when people are doing cooking classes, when they're doing how to stage your home, they might not be selling homes, but how to stage your home. These are useful things. Likes, comments, and shares are broadly shared, even on lockdown posts. And your audience still wants, again, it's all down to value. So let me give you an example what wasn't a good email. Everlane, which is an online retailer, their subject line was, "We're in this together." And the first 3 lines are all about, we want to give you value and it's uncertain and we want to be there for you. But if you look at what I have in orange, but during this period, we want to give back. We're going to break our own rules and offer weekly promotions that, make us more affordable. Check out our $50 denim. They just lost me after that subject line. I probably won't open their emails anymore. So research shows that the most compelling way to survive is to spend more on marketing. But the question you have to ask yourself, are you relevant right now? Because if you're not, you may want to wait to advertise. Right now, this is a restaurant essential market for messaging. If you are in a clothing store, stay in touch, but advertising to come to your store isn't going to do it. We have a few restaurants that have maybe 4 of their 6 stores open. Some are in Dade, some are in Broward, some are in Palm Beach County. The 4 are in Miami-Dade. So that's where we told them to focus on with radio, and we'll go over that in a little bit. And then, are you essential or non-essential? And that's what will help you decide whether you advertise or how you market now. So I wanted to give you kind of a checklist so that I want you to know what types of avenues are open to you. So if you look at connectors, don't ever forget word of mouth. People are on the phone, they're emailing, they're texting, really, really important. Relationships are important. Most people think of channels as like Facebook, magazines, but relationships are also connectors. You still want to work on Google. You have Facebook, Instagram, and I can go down through the list with you here, but I'm going to go to the bottom and just talk about ratings and Yelp. Maybe now's the time when you reach out to your customers and maybe ask for a positive review. Check in on them. How are you doing? And just saying, if we've been helpful to you, if you can share that, that would be great. We're all small businesses wanting to share what we do, and you could really be of help. All right. And then if you go to even some of your partners, ask if you can help them, because you'll see it will be both ways. Now on content, I made a list here, and you all are going to get this. So, you don't have to take notes, but these are different ways that you should be thinking of for content. But I got to tell you, don't venture into something that you have to learn from the bottom up. I've been going to webinars on different things to brush up. But if I needed social media expertise, I would go to the social media person. People think, oh, it's just a quick two sentences, but it's really not. Those 2 sentences can make or break you. I've talked with professional services firm, and actually someone said to me, well, any 14-year-old can do Facebook. Right, but when you're in a regulated audience, you show me what that 14-year-old knows about what you can say and what you can't. Also, a younger person may not understand as much of an audience, of certain audiences, than like for the 50 to 60-year-olds that are looking on social media. The 40 to 50 people, 50-year-olds are the decision makers in a company. They're going to react differently than someone who might be that 14-year-old or 20-year-old. So how you speak to people, you can't start off a Facebook to a 50-year-old, hey, there's just certain things that you want to be respectful for. Again, it's all about them, right? If they think you're illiterate or you're not serious about certain things you're supposed to be serious about, that'll be it. That'll be it. Videos, it's a little bit more laxed right now because people are doing it from their homes. And I see a lot of you have really good backgrounds. If you're comfortable with that, do a video. It doesn't have to be professionally done. You can do it. But if you need to edit it and you're concerned about it, share it with someone that has that expertise. E-newsletters, I tend to not have a periodic one, meaning I don't have a monthly newsletter. I do it for value. I do it when it's something I think someone will find of value. That is when I share mine. It might be in the legal communities or financial. Maybe you want to stick to once a month. But we're an agency that represents different industries. So when a restaurant opens, when someone, we helped Oceans 234 with their grocery store. I saw it. They're a past client of ours, and I called Danielle and I said, this is a fabulous idea. Do you mind if I share it with media? And I did, and they got a lot of coverage because it was a value. So again, don't fill up an inbox. Give something of value and they will remember. And sometimes that means I saw a really interesting post that we're not all in the same boat. We're in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. And I shared it on Facebook. I think I had more shares of that because I thought it was the best perspective on how everybody's wading through this tidal wave. And then, because I know some aren't on Facebook, I sent an email. And I got so many responses because people were thinking these things. And so it's sometimes validating when you share that with someone. They know I'm looking out for them. I'm not selling what I'm doing, but they know who I am and they know what I stand for when I do things like that. So let me talk about publicity a little bit. It's absolutely critical, and you all know Richard Branson, but a good PR story is infinitely more effective than a front page ad. Let me tell you why. It's authentic, it's third party, and it's an endorsement from a respected source. That is why we all want to be in the Sun Sentinel. That is why we all want a segment on a news channel, right? So there is validity to that. And here's when we do metrics in the PR industry, the value of an editorial is 2.5 times the ad equivalency rate. Because, they say advertising is what you pay for, PR is what you pray for. So the reality is there's a lot more behind publicity than what meets the eye, but that's why. Because if you paid for it, you say what you want, you said it, and nobody can dispute you. They can either agree or disagree, but that's what it is. And also, when you have a third-party endorser, it's a real big SEO booster. So that's why. So what I did here was talk to you a little bit about what public relations can do. And a lot of people don't really understand necessarily what PR is. And I've always, whenever I'm meeting a new client, I say, what do you think PR is? Because everybody thinks, oh, it's making friends, it's a smile, it's a press release. It is so much more. So if it's done right, you'll have strategic counsel, candid counsel. As Chastity said earlier, we pride ourselves on telling clients what they need to know, not just what they want to know. Because you cannot get to the other side of a crisis or a product launch if you don't have that kind of counsel. And also, as I mentioned earlier, think tank integration with your communications, executives, outside sources, whatever, is extremely important. Because when I said before, there's so many different channels you could do, they can help you figure out which is the best, which is most cost effective. Public relations also brings brand clarity and the messaging consistency. It's very important. And you need to have both a short-term and long-term plan. So let me tell you, public relations has many components, and it usually fits under the title of marketing. Just so you know, there's marketing and public relations is one of those. So it's media relations, community relations, alliance building, it's brand ambassadors, it's public-private partnerships. That means community engagement with nonprofits, and crisis experience. Those are very key to why public relations can be of value. So I can answer your questions at the end about all of these things, but I did want to give you a promotional checklist that you should be doing now. A lot of restaurants are using large format printing saying we're open, really important. A-frame and yard signs, like I showed you before, are really helpful. Floor decals, I'm telling you, that's the new it thing. People are in grocery stores, they're going to start having 6 feet. Social distancing is going to be part of our lives. So floor decals let people know that it's done in a professional way. It looks good in your stores. It looks good in library. It looks good everywhere. But that's a really important pivot now. Direct mail. I was talking the other day with someone, and I said that does direct mail, and he's terrific at it. And I said, more and more people are reading now. They can't wait to go. They can't wait to go to their mailbox to see what they can read next. We're all stuck in. So when direct mail used to look expensive, now you don't have as much competition as years ago. But I will tell you on direct mail, depending upon your business, you are better off sending a single postcard versus being in a value pack. But if it's a message about nonprofits getting together and there's several in there, then that's a mission-based mailer. Do you see the difference? So in other words, if now's the time to follow what restaurants do with a coupon, telling them what you're doing to keep it safe when you reopen. There's so many different ways, but direct mail, I think right now, remember, people are not at their offices. They're at home. So those home zip codes are gold right now, and those will help you. So there's in-store signage, and what I mean by that is once you're open, are you gonna have tent cards out that talk about things? Are you gonna have paper menus? You know, think about that. Be thinking about what you're gonna have to do in the immediate future. If you're a realtor, look at how you're gonna do visits. Some clients are pulling listings because they don't want to, they're afraid of having anyone in their house. Have you already moved to virtual? Some people haven't, but let's get ready for that. In-store education, well, that's what I just said about the in-store education. What are you telling them about your products? Are you telling them they're locally sourced? What is gonna make them feel good about coming back, other than that it's great food? Okay. It could be Lilly Pulitzer. I'm using that as an example. As a retailer, they made masks. I'm just saying, I don't know if they did, but that would be something to let people know. We're still going to be in this for a while. Even if we have 2 great months, we're going to go back in it in some form. And then reopening amenities. How are you getting thermometers in advance? Because you're going to need that if you're going to let people in. We have to start listening to the news every day and every minute. There's other restrictions. But think about those things. Paper menus. You know, what do you need to get? It might be, if you're doing open houses, you might have a mask for everybody. You know, be thinking about how you can take care of your business that way. So my last statement really is, if I was down to my last dollar, I'd spend it on public relations, and that's Bill Gates. So go back and look at what was under that list, because again, advertising is what you pay for. PR is what you pray for. And you can either create news or you can report it. But I'm hoping I gave you enough to help you use some of the tips in here for when you're reaching out to colleagues, when you're advertising in your messaging, because you need all that before you can make your decisions. So I think I can go back to, it's back to me. Anybody want to chat or?
Thank you so much, Bonnie, for your presentation. We greatly appreciate it. Sophia, are there any questions?
There are no questions yet. I'll give it a couple more seconds, give people some time to type them in there.
You can also raise your hand if you would like to vocalize your question and not want to type it into the chat.
Susan asked, when do you think retail will reopen?
That's really not a question I can answer. I constantly listen to what the governor, what city council is saying. Again, I'm not an authority in that, so I really can't answer that. But if you think about the magnitude, you have landlords that will be suffering because their tenants can't open. It affects so many different levels, but again, it's all up to the governor, to tell you the truth. That's where all the decisions are made here.
Thank you. We didn't have any more questions, just more comments of people sharing how they've kind of changed the way they've done their business. And then many people are just saying thank you, and this is great information, great material.
You sure there isn't any area that maybe I can help you? Because there were so many different businesses. I was trying to be helpful to everybody.
Sophia, you want to read some of the comments that some of the people made?
Sure. So we have one person said, I converted my family grocery store to online orders and deliveries like that. Saves a lot over those delivery services. Another one of our viewers said she converted her event website into a virtual event website.
That's great. That's great.
And someone else mentioned that, people should start working on their SEO if they have the downtime right now. And those were just some of the comments. Again, if anyone does have questions, we'll be sending a follow-up email with Ms. Bonnie's information. So if anything does come up later, please feel free to reach out. Actually, someone just came up with a question. Is there a way to get media attention for a virtual fundraising event?
So you have to understand that media is so inundated with the man on the street, how this is affecting them health-wise. You have to look at the priorities that they have. I think there is opportunity, but again, it's what you pray for. So it depends, without looking at what that fundraiser is, have you reached out to, for lack of a better term, a celebrity or an influencer? Have you reached out to somebody that can be a voice for you? Sometimes that helps. What helped with the salute that Broken Sound did with the searchlights is that I was on site. The TV cameras couldn't come. I was on site. I took the video and sent it to the TV stations. That was a help to them. And they actually used it. And we had a great segment. The Sun Sentinel came. The story didn't come out for actually 2 weeks. So you have to be patient with media. And it depends what your fundraiser is. Really, is it novel? Is it very different? We all know that the need is there, but everybody's having those needs. And what they may do, fortunately or unfortunately, is they may go to a Red Cross. They may, do you remember in the days when we have hurricanes? Can you imagine, we represent Habitat for Humanity of South Palm Beach County. And I remember we were doing a grand reopening of the restores. We had to completely redo that. We do the Boca Raton Mayor's Ball, and we had to totally reschedule that. And that took creativity, because by then it was a Saturday night. All the bands were taken for the future Saturday nights. What do you do? Everything. But then I thought, you know what? No, everybody's paid for this already. They know we wouldn't normally do a ball on a Sunday night. Why don't we do it on a Sunday night at 5 o'clock? We can start it at 5:30, so people are home at 9:30. Women can get their hair done. Everything can be, and you know what? We lost maybe 10 couples, and then we had some on the waiting list that took it because they were going out of town. But everybody welcomed it. They danced the night away. It's how you pivot, and sometimes you got to punt. And you know, but again, I'm going to go back. It's all about your audience. If you're asking me about fundraiser, think about what your donors would want. Think about if there's a donor there that will give a match, and maybe that would be newsworthy. Do you see what I'm saying? So if somebody says, for the first 10,000, I'm going to match, and it's Lois Pope, for instance, a well-known philanthropist, that might edge you in. Does that help? I don't know who asked that question, but.
He gave a thumbs up. I saw him.
Oh, good, because I can't see it, because I only see a few at the top. I know I could have everybody there, but. So
Any other questions?
I think the more helpful you are, the more chance you have. When I did that for Danielle at Oceans 234, it was before, Danielle is always creative. So it was before people started the delivery service. We got it early. And so I said, do you mind if I call? Because, you know, I think it's a great idea. Again, she wasn't a current client. She was a past client. We handled her transformation when she reopened it, you know, after her remodeling and everything. But the media thanked me because they're looking for good news, but they're looking for things that are unusual. They're looking for things that are different. So the Passover pivot, what I actually had a reporter from a business magazine saying, thank you so much. I'm so glad they're doing this. So you'd be surprised on how, you know, and then I would watch TV. I would watch what they're doing, thank them for what they're doing and saying, you know, I don't know if this is of interest, but everybody is in it. Everybody goes home in a fog. Sometimes I don't know if, you know, it's morning, night. You know, my husband is my partner in crime and family and business. And I remember arguing with him about a Thursday, thinking it was Thursday, and it was a Friday. And I said, no, John, it's Thursday. I have a board meeting today. And then I had to call on Friday and, you know, tell the JCC, I'm really sorry. I said, Brandy, I can't believe it was like such an important board meeting and I missed it. But literally we fought over what day it was. So everybody's in that. I think people are forgiving. So I think let's err on the human nature. You know, I want to send, if I'm going to get everybody's emails, Chastity, I'd like to send that email about that we're all, you know, in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. I have to tell you, it's opened people's eyes that we're thinking, oh, well, people are buying home now. So how do I reach them? You know, just not a good thing, you know? And as Lindsay, I just saw that Lindsay just wrote, practice kindness. You can't err now. And honestly, I think that's one of the silver linings that came out of this. I think we all look at teachers and janitors. I mean, I always did. I was always brought up that way. But I think the world is aware of who's really essential. And by the way, that's really interesting. I'm a wordsmith, and I have an issue with essential and not essential. Because for someone who is serving food and needs that job, they're essential to their children. They're essential to their families. When people are, even in the library, they're not open, but they're essential because they're kids that don't have laptops that go there to study, right? So that's my issue, but I guess they have to have a cutoff when they're trying to do these policies. But I can tell you, that's something that really, I think it sends a bad message to people who aren't working right now, you know, but it is what we have to live within some kind of categories in order for the government to work in the way it is. But I think everybody's essential because they put food on the table.
Well, thank you so much, Bonnie, again, for your presentation. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us today. Yes, Sophia will be sending you the copy of the presentation as well as a link to the recorded presentation if you want to view it in case you missed something. Maybe you had to take that call and put yourself on mute, but just in case we try to cover everything. You can join us for our next virtual event. We actually have a virtual event today with our Economic Development Committee at 3 o'clock. It's open to all. Frank Barbieri, who's the chairman of the Palm Beach County School Boards, will be presenting. So that's pretty interesting. I know as a mom, and I still have a kid in school, I want to hear what Mr. Barbieri has to say. And for those of you who are business professionals under 40 on this Zoom, you can join us for our Pulse Virtual Happy Hour sponsored by Lynn University this evening at 5. So check out our chamber calendar and see what's coming up as far as updates for coronavirus and more educational workshops being brought to you. And make sure you download the Chambers app because there's information on there as well. And we look forward to seeing you at the next virtual event.
Cassidy, can I just say something?
Sure.
Right now, you're not running to 42 meetings. Make your meeting day Chambers days, because what Chastity is saying, that's the other silver lining. We're also busy working like so fast and on a treadmill, but the value that you have with the chamber membership is so evident right now. And you can do it from your home. You can do it, you know, if you miss a time, it's available. But take advantage, listen to what people are saying. Remember when in economic development, think about it, when kids can't go to school and parents are line workers and dishwashers, what do they do with their children? There is opportunity in that depending on what your business is. So just remember that you have an incredible amount of chamber resources. Use them now. Join a leads group. You know, go to those happy hours. Now's your time. Those relationships are your assets.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those closing comments. We greatly appreciate it. Everyone stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you soon. Thanks again, Bonnie.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Stay in, stay safe.
You too.